the last couple of years have been interesting in a lot of ways, a lot of bad ways, a lot of good ways. I've been extremely busy. Got 3 kids. Life's hectic. But I've managed to make some films in that time. I don't post much on this channel anymore. I'm not sure exactly why. I was experimenting for a while with different things on my channel and side channels and different channels, and it wasn't necessarily me. Stuff that I thought was entertaining, stuff that I thought was interesting. But at the heart of all the silly and stupid videos that I ended up making, my films were always at the center. I think on YouTube, I'm probably most known for 41, the time travel movie. But I've made a lot of other films. Some of them have been quite successful commercially. Some have been quite successful non-commercially. Like I've mentioned this 1,000 times. For whatever reason, 41 has been sort of my most popular film online, that is. The Comic Kids did very well internationally, sort of being distributed. That was great. This channel hasn't probably got the love and attention it needed over the years, the last couple of years anyway. We've had some sort of like, I guess family tragedies, is that what you'd call it? That sort of shook things up a bit, and I just wasn't making YouTube videos. And I did experiment for a while on a lot of different sort of videos and different things that I thought that that the audience wanted to see that didn't work. None of that stuff worked. And I spent a lot of time on that, many months, and that whole thing sort of, I just threw that away basically. I did make a film a few years back called Dreams of Paper and Ink. I spent about a year on that film. I love that movie. That is online if you want to look it up, Dreams of Paper and Ink. It's a non-dialogue film about a relationship I had when I was younger. Very personal film with some really good music in there. So check that film out if you can. And then I guess when my mum passed away, I had to sort of do something with that. I had to sort of, I guess, all these different feelings, emotions, sadness, all that sort of stuff that comes with those sort of events in life. I had to channel that into something. And so I started writing a lot of scripts, and there was a particular script that all of a sudden just came out of me one day. I sat down at the computer, and within 3 hours, I had about 50 pages of that script, maybe even 60 pages, which never happens, ever. And that movie's called Ancestry Road, which I've just finished editing lately. So that movie will be out early next year. And that was a very fun film to make. We went down to Tasmania, which is essentially overseas from Australia. It's still part of Australia, right down the bottom of Australia. And shot this movie called Ancestry Road, which is about a family who is visited by deceased family members. And that film turned out to be fantastic and extremely emotional for me to make. There were many times, mostly when I was writing, where I found myself just in floods of tears, and a couple of times when we're shooting, and a lot more when we're editing, because no one can see me when I'm editing, so it's a lot easier to shed a tear or two. But yeah, the ending of that film is extremely powerful, and so I'm very curious how that gets taken by the audience, hopefully next year. But I've just been very busy. My YouTube channel is kind of a weird one. It's kind of a mixture of a whole bunch of different things on here. At one point I had my proposal video, which I'm sure some of you might have seen, that's now on a different channel because I took down because YouTube's funny about music and all the different rules and laws that they change over time. But that does still exist. It's got a few of my movies on here, short films, probably some skits and silly things like that. But I just found I wasn't... What's the word? I was just trying to focus on... I love making stuff. I love videos is just my thing. I just love editing. I love filming. I love all of it. And every couple of years I try to make a movie, which is what I've been doing. So I've been very busy. Ancestry Road, there is a little making of, little snippet teaser thing about Ancestry Road on the channel as well, which you can check out. And that's... that was a very hectic shoot. I think we shot that movie in, was it 16 days or 17 days? Very quick, very low budget, but we pulled together something magnificent out of it. So the movie is set in Scotland, all filmed by, all made by Australian people. So that was a challenge in itself. And I'm very, very pleased with this film. I've watched it probably maybe 7 times or 8 times so far. Still got to watch it another 10 times. I know I'll be sick of it by the end of it, but that's what happens with movies. Yeah, I'm sort of at this stage right now where I'm just waiting on a few things for the movie. I'm waiting on music. I'm waiting on some dialogue recording, waiting on some effects, just waiting on a couple of little bits and pieces to sort of put the whole film together and get it done. I initially thought I had about almost a 3-hour movie. As I was editing, I sort of put all the scenes together and I'm like, oh man, this is going to be 3 hours. I've never made a 3-hour film. And then when I actually took out all the little like clunky bits and double takes and all the stuff that didn't need to be in there and really compressed the movie down to what we shot, it was only like an hour and 40 minutes, so which is now about an hour and a half. So it's pretty tight, but it's good. It's really good. So that's Ancestry Road. So keep an eye out for that film early next year. And so I've got a few other film projects I've been working on the sidelines, mostly in script form at the moment. A couple of editing jobs, a couple of sound mixing jobs I've been working on, but it's been mostly Ancestry Road the last year or so. I have another idea for a very large scale film, which might happen. I don't think it will happen. I'll start it next year, but it won't get made next year. But that's something that really excites me. That's a really interesting project. There's a few projects floating around, but this particular one is something that I know I'm going to have to make at some point, and I'm looking very forward to making that film. That's something that's very dear to me and who I am and my childhood and all that sort of stuff. So, and I think that's what you need to do when you make a film. This is the advice I always give to people that ask me. And I remember getting told this when I was in film school. They're always like, write what you know, make films about stuff you know. And when they said that to me when I was at school, I didn't know anything. I hadn't been through anything yet. And so I just had to make stuff up, and I was making horror films and sci-fi movies and silly things. And I do find that the closer to honesty that you are about what you're writing and what you're producing resonates. It definitely resonates a lot better with an audience, and it makes you feel better about your content too. You're not just sort of like, oh, I made this film, I hate it, but I think it's what the audience wants. They want honesty. That's honestly what they want. And the reason they want honesty is because that's what films are. This is what I've always thought. When you go to a cinema complex, films are campfires. You're walking through a forest and there's a campfire with a tribe of people sitting there, and someone's telling a story. And you're like, do I sit with that tribe, listen to that story, or do I walk down the hall into Cinema 10 and listen to that story? And the reason the stories are there is so you can grow and learn. They've been on an adventure. They've come back from the adventure, and you need to hear an honest story of how they survived, what they did, how they dealt with it, all the things they went through, because that's what we do, I guess, how we communicate as humans. So I've always thought that, cinemas are like forests with these little tribe fires set up. And so if you just go up and just sort of make up something that means nothing, people are going to be like, oh, I don't want to listen to that story. I'm going to walk down and listen to that one that really gets to me. Like, that's something. There's something going on there. Yeah, I think like that's what I've been trying to do, especially with Dreams of Paper and Ink, and definitely with Ancestry Road, is just to write what I know. I base a lot of the characters now on real people that I know in my life. It makes things a lot easier to write and a lot easier to make, and especially when you're directing, because you know exactly what the character's going through. It's very easy just to sort of say, oh, well, I know this person. This is exactly what they're doing. This is how they stand. This is what they're thinking, how they're talking. Makes things great. So next year I will hopefully be making this very large film, which kind of frightens me a little bit. But we had a really great team working on Ancestry Road. Really, really great team. So whether or not I head back to Tassie and make the film down there, I don't know if that'll happen or not. But definitely got to meet some great crew and cast. So makes things a lot easier when you've got a really good crew around you, that's for sure. For many years, I've made a lot of films just by myself with a tripod, which I love. It's very hands-on, but having a crew that sort of, and that's the thing, the more crew you have, the easier my job became to direct. I was just kind of like, I think that should be over there. This is that. Like physically, I don't have to do anything, which is weird. And I didn't like that. I like to, but then I don't want to go, picking up people's camera gear and moving it and stuff. I just want to, let them do their thing. So yeah, it's directing. Yeah, professional level directing is a lot easier than independent filmmaking, but it's different. It's very different at the same time. So, so look out for Ancestry Road. Please go check out Dreams of Paper and Ink. 41 is still doing wonderful things around the world, so that's amazing. Apocalyptics floating around if you want to go check that out. I've got heaps of movies all over the place. Trying to get Cinemaphobia on some more streaming services at the moment too. And that's the thing with movies. The more movies you make, the more crazy issues you run into many, many years later down the track. There's all sorts of crazy stuff that happens where you're like, you have to deal with streaming services and all this new technology that comes out and all the legal stuff that goes with it. So my job sort of never ends. It's always moving with interesting momentum in all different directions. So just a little update on what's been happening the last year. Thank you for watching, and I'll keep you posted with all my future projects. Thank you.